The storm came down from the mountains before dawn, turning the Montana Trail into a white river of snow. Nathan Cole was riding home from the far pasture when he saw something that made him pull hard on the reins. A woman was kneeling beside a broken wagon. A little girl was pressed against her chest, wrapped in a thin blue blanket. Neither had a proper coat. The horse pulling the wagon was gone, and the woman's lips had already turned pale from the cold. Nathan jumped from his saddle. "Ma'am, you can't stay here." The woman looked up with frightened eyes. "We have nowhere else to go." Nathan lifted the child first, then helped the woman onto his horse. "My ranch is 3 miles east. You'll be warm there?" The woman hesitated. "I can't pay you." "I didn't ask for money." By the time they reached the Cole ranch, the little girl had stopped shivering, but she was barely awake. Nathan carried her inside and placed her near the fireplace. His housekeeper, Mrs. Bell, brought blankets while Nathan searched the kitchen for something warm. The woman finally gave her name, Sarah Whitmore. "And the girl?" "Lily, my daughter." Nathan noticed the way Sarah protected Lily even while exhausted. "You're safe here," he said. Sarah looked toward the large ranch house. "People don't usually help strangers without wanting something." Nathan gave a tired smile. "Then perhaps people have disappointed you." He left them alone. Nathan Cole was wealthy, but he lived almost like a poor man. His wife had died 5 years earlier, and since then he had spent most of his time working cattle and avoiding town. Sarah stayed only because the snow made travel impossible. But the next morning, Nathan discovered that she could repair broken harnesses better than most ranch hands. She could read a ledger, sew torn coats, and ride a horse with quiet confidence. Lily, meanwhile, followed Nathan everywhere. At first, he did not know what to do with a child. On the 3rd day, Lily found an old wooden horse on a shelf. "Did this belong to your daughter?" she asked. Nathan froze. He had never had a daughter. The toy had belonged to his younger sister, Mary, who had died when he was 17. "Someone I loved," he answered. Lily placed the toy carefully back on the shelf. Sarah noticed his growing kindness. "You don't have to keep feeding us," she said one evening. "I have enough cattle to feed a town." "That isn't what I mean." Nathan looked at her. "I know." Sarah lowered her eyes. "I'll leave when the road's open." Nathan wanted to ask why she had been traveling alone in a winter storm, but he sensed there was a reason she was afraid. A week later, a man arrived at the ranch. He wore a black coat and carried a silver-handled cane. His name was Gideon Shaw, a wealthy landbroker from the nearest town. "I've come for Sarah Whitmore," he said. Nathan stepped outside. "She isn't here." Gideon smiled. "I know she is." Sarah appeared behind Nathan. The moment she saw Gideon, all color left her face. "Please," she whispered. "Don't send me with him." Nathan's expression hardened. Gideon looked amused. "You don't understand. Mr. Cole, Sarah is wanted for stealing from a family estate." Nathan looked at Sarah. "Is that true?" She shook her head. "No." Gideon reached inside his coat. "I have papers proving it." Nathan did not let him inside. "Then take those papers to the sheriff." Gideon's smile disappeared. "This is not your affair." "It became my affair when you frightened a woman on my land." Gideon left, but before riding away he looked at Sarah. "You cannot hide forever." That night, Sarah finally told Nathan part of the truth. Her husband, Daniel Whitmore, had worked for Gideon Shaw. Daniel had discovered that Gideon was stealing land from poor settlers by forging deeds. When Daniel tried to expose him, he disappeared. Sarah found an old letter among his belongings. The letter contained proof of Gideon's crimes. But before Sarah could take it to the sheriff, Gideon learned she had it. She fled with Lily. "Where is the letter?" Nathan asked. Sarah touched the lining of her dress. "I don't have it anymore." Nathan noticed her hand trembling. "Who does?" "My husband hid it somewhere before he disappeared." For the first time, Nathan understood why Gideon had followed her through a snowstorm. The letter was worth more than money. It could destroy a powerful man. The next morning, Lily asked Nathan to help her find a red wooden box that belonged to her father. Sarah suddenly went pale. "Lily, where did you hear about that?" "Daddy told me to remember it." Nathan crouched beside the girl. "What else did your father tell you?" Lily thought for a moment. "He said the box was where the mountain watches the house." Nathan knew the mountains around his ranch. There was only one place that matched those words. an abandoned stone lookout above the northern pasture. He and Sarah rode there before sunset. Inside the ruined lookout, they found the red wooden box beneath loose floorboards. Sarah opened it with shaking hands. Inside was the old letter. But there was more. A second document contained the names of families whose land had been stolen. Nathan recognized several names. One belonged to a widow whose ranch he had bought years earlier. He suddenly realized something terrible. His own land might have been connected to Gideon's scheme. Nathan took the documents to the sheriff. Gideon arrived before the investigation was complete. He brought armed men, but Nathan did not reach for a gun. Instead, he walked into the town hall carrying the documents in front of half the town. "You wanted proof," Nathan said. "Now everyone can read it." Gideon tried to deny everything. Then an elderly rancher stepped forward. "My name is on that list." Another man followed. "So is mine." One by one, settlers recognized their stolen land. Records. Gideon's power collapsed in a single afternoon. The sheriff arrested him, but Nathan's own name remained on one of the documents. Sarah saw it. "You didn't know," she said. Nathan looked ashamed. "I bought that land believing the papers were clean. You weren't the one who stole it." "No, but I benefited from it." He offered to return the northern pasture to the original families. It would cost him thousands of dollars. Sarah stared at him. "You could lose half your ranch." Nathan looked toward the window. "Maybe some things were never mine to keep." The settlers helped Nathan rebuild the boundary fences. Sarah stayed to help with the ranch accounts. For the first time, Nathan's great house no longer felt empty. Lily began calling him Mr. Nathan, though everyone could see she thought of him as something more. One evening, Sarah found Nathan sitting on the porch with the old wooden horse in his hands. "You fixed it," she said. Nathan smiled. "Lily broke the leg. She says you fixed it." "I did." Sarah sat beside him. "She trusts you." Nathan looked at her. "So do you?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "I think I am learning how." Spring came early, and the last snow disappeared from the mountain slopes. Then the sheriff brought Sarah a final letter. It was from Daniel. The letter had been written months before his disappearance. It said he had gone into hiding after discovering that Gideon's network reached farther than anyone knew. He had planned to return when it was safe. Sarah read it with tears in her eyes. She finally understood that Daniel had not abandoned them. He had been trying to protect them. Nathan did not interrupt her grief. He simply stood nearby. When Sarah finished reading, she folded the letter and looked at him. "I thought I had lost everything," Nathan answered softly. "Sometimes what we lose makes room for what we were never expecting." Sarah smiled through her tears. Years later, the coal ranch was known for something more than its cattle. It became a place where struggling families could work, where children were taught to read, and where no widow feared losing her land to a powerful man's forged signature. Lily grew up surrounded by horses, books, and people who loved her. And Sarah eventually became Nathan's wife, not because she needed a home, but because she had finally found a man she could trust. One spring morning, Nathan watched Sarah and Lily ride across the pasture together. The old letter was locked safely in the ranch office. It had once been a symbol of fear. Now it was a reminder of the night a wealthy rancher found a woman and her little daughter dying in a snowstorm. Nathan had thought he was rescuing two strangers. He never imagined they would become the family that finally taught him what home meant.